Hey there YouTube. So today I want to go ahead and talk with you guys about the 2007 to 2011 Toyota Camry. In front of me I've got my grandparents' 2007 Camry SE model, and I want to speak with you guys about the common complaints you will notice with this particular generation. I'm really going to mention only 3, but I'd like you guys to also leave some in the comments, and so we can kind of get a better understanding of why this generation, although a success, has had a lot of failures. So we're going to talk about things such as the transmission. We're going to talk about the overall feel of the ride, as it should feel more fun, but it isn't, just due to the fact that it is a Toyota. And then we're also going to talk about some interior concerns. So let's go ahead and get started. This vehicle is equipped with a 6-speed auto, and this is actually not safe from what I'm about to talk about. The 6-speed automatic transmission has proven to be troublesome in this generation, including the 2012 and on. And the main thing you'll notice with it is that when you first start out driving, it'll actually have a shift flare between gears 3 and 4. So go ahead and watch this clip and you'll see what I'm talking about. So as you saw, there was actually a shift flare between gears 3 and 4. However, in this vehicle, it only actually happens once. In other vehicles, it happens a little bit more often, requiring transmission replacement. So after the first shift, it actually corrects itself, and then in the second video that you're about to watch, you'll see that the shift is actually normal. So that's probably the biggest complaint in terms of Camry owners, is that they've had to replace their transmissions pretty consistently throughout this generation and ultimately into the newer generations as well. Granted, they did do some software updates with the torque converter to make them drive a little bit more smoothly, but they still aren't exempt from failure. Like, a lot of them actually did need to be replaced. So with that, moving into the 6-speed auto, for the 4-cylinder, actually didn't fare well, because the 4-cylinder used to use a 5-speed auto, and a lot of people found those to be a little bit more reliable. So the next thing we're going to talk about is actually the fun that's taken away from this vehicle. With a sportier look than that of the 2006, you definitely would have expected it to drive a little bit more sporty. And even these sportier trims, maybe a sportier suspension would have done something, but unfortunately, the suspension is very similar to that of just the regular trims that are more for comfort. They're not very harsh suspensions, they're very plush, and ultimately the car just has a very numb feeling despite the V6 engine having so much power. So although it is fun to accelerate, that's about the only thing you can do in this. Whipping it around corners is not necessarily something you're going to be doing with this car, and so I think Toyota took that into consideration, and they didn't necessarily sport tune the suspension, but they really should have, because it ultimately would have made it a lot more fun. And this thing is actually a blast to drive, but there is some numb feeling to it, so it's not as aggressive as the car overall looks, just because it kind of does look a little snarly. It looks like it's a beast, but the actual feeling of driving, not so much. It's just not fun. So unfortunately, that was a big complaint with this generation, and ultimately even the newer Camrys, but the 2018 and on seems to be doing a pretty good job. So probably the biggest gripe that I have with this vehicle is the interior, and it really irks me that a car in this price range has such a poor interior quality, as well as the interior just does not age well. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the quality of the materials, and we're going to talk about the overall failure of the interior to actually hold up over time. So the quality is actually pretty bad. The interior is very hard to the touch no matter where you actually touch. And as you can see here, yes, they do have an armrest, but it's very flimsy and it's not comfortable. So all of your areas that are high traffic for your hands are actually hard touch, which is kind of obnoxious in my opinion, because these vehicles are supposed to have quality and value. And the thing about it is that they use the name rather than the actual quality to actually keep the price point of these cars higher. So unfortunately, the interior quality is just not very good, and the materials used are very hard plastics. And the thing about it is that even into 2015, they had that issue a little bit, but it wasn't until 2018 that they really corrected their interiors and actually brought value and quality back to the Toyota segment. So ultimately, any car that you kind of get from 2005 to maybe 2015, they're really cutting corners on their interior quality, and you can actually peel them apart pretty easily. This car, for example, has a lot of asymmetry. If you can see on the right-hand side, it's pretty even. On the left, not so much. And even here, if you notice, that's actually coming apart. So the quality concerns in this vehicle are pretty substantial. The interior just does not hold up well. As you can see, paint is chipping from the door handle here. And that actually happened in my sister's Camry as well when it was shipped off. But granted, that car was 8 years older and it's holding up a lot better. So unfortunately, the interior just does not hold up well over time in these particular models. Granted, my step grandparents actually have a Toyota Camry V6 as well, same year, but you have to really condition these interiors and buy them brand new in order for them to hold up over time. Another example here is these A-pillars. These actually were coming off when my grandparents purchased the car, and I don't think they noticed it, but the thing about it is that should actually be flush. That should not be hanging and exposing the curtain airbag. So unfortunately, the interior on these is just not up to par, but your reliability is still there. Toyota's reliability is still there. Despite there being some transmission issues, this vehicle has been a gem. It still goes to California. It just went 2 weeks ago. And ultimately, the issues are so subtle in this car, thank God, but there are other people who obviously have had more catastrophic failures with this generation. So with that, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is a little bit of a shorter review, but there's less to complain about just because, you know, it's a Toyota and a lot of people who purchase these vehicles like them overall. But probably I would say my biggest gripe is the interior quality. So if you did like this video, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks.